Hello my friends, it's Ranger Russ from the Meigs Point Nature Center, coming to you today from Meigs Point, the salt marsh area. You can see the Nature Center behind me over there. And we have a beautiful day here at Hammonasset. They're calling for showers. We've had some clouds roll through, but no rain yet. And we're going to turn the camera around and show you what I'm looking at. We had a beautiful sunrise this morning. I got the tail end of it when I got into work today. Absolutely beautiful coming up right over there. All right, in today's program, I've done a program once already on the salt marsh. We're going to do another program today about the salt marsh. And if you want to see, go back and look at the last program I did. It's the functions of a salt marsh and how the salt marsh benefits people. So it's really important to know why we want salt marshes and why we need salt marshes. And that's what that program was. This program is going to be about the plants and animals that live in the salt marsh and use the salt marsh. And last time we picked out a few animals that we were able to see, and there was a blue crab that I wasn't able to find. The reason I did not start out in the salt marsh is because as soon as I started walking into the salt marsh, I saw that there's a blue crab sitting right here. So we're going to go out and take a look at it. But before we do that, I want to let everybody know these programs are going to happen Tuesdays through Fridays at 11 o'clock. You can watch them live on Facebook, or if you missed them live, you can view them on our YouTube channel, Meigs Point Nature Center YouTube channel. And you can also see them on our website. And I really encourage you to visit the website because there are downloadable attachments that go along with the videos. So you can go in there, you can get a little vocabulary list and then some activities to go along with the programs. So, and I'm also going to ask you to please subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's we're trying to get to 1,000. We haven't even reached 200 yet, but as soon as we get to 1,000, we'll be doing YouTube live programs as well. And I also see people are already putting up where you're messaging from. I love to see that. So I know where it's... Ooh, look what's happening right here. Can you see the bubbles coming up? And we talked a little bit about this last time. There are bacteria down in the peat. The peat is the mud. And when the peat is being broken down by the bacteria, when the plant matter is being broken down, it produces gases. And then every once in a while, you see those gases released. The reason that one was bubbling, and there's another one over there, is because I stepped into the marsh to head out to do the program, and then I saw the blue crab, so I stopped. So that's why we had bubbles right there. Now let's take a look at our blue crab. It is going to take off as soon as I get too close. Let's see if we can zoom in a little bit. And we're going to show you the blue crab. Can you guys see the blue crab there? Hopefully yes. Let's see some thumbs up if we've got the blue crab. Going to start moving away if I get too close, so let's go this way. Looks like a female. The males usually have brighter colors, although this isn't breeding season, so they don't necessarily have to have those bright colors. Now I'm wondering if it's even alive because it's not running away from me. Usually they take off when I get this close. I'm not seeing any movement. Here I am sneaking up on what might be a dead crab. Let's turn the camera so you guys can see it. Yeah, I don't think that's a live crab. All right. It was a male. You can see the narrow mark right there. That's the tail. The female, the tail would be like a pyramid. It would take up the whole belly. Thinking this is a dead crab, not a molt. So they do molt their exoskeletons. Here I am sneaking around and it's a dead crab. You never know what's going to happen when you're doing live programs. Here's a good chance though to show you the swimming legs on the back there. So it has 6 walking legs, which are like other crabs, and then special swimming legs, which allow it to swim up into the water column. And it's only one of 2 crabs that have those special swimming legs. The blue crab and the lady crab both have the adapted swimming legs. All right, let's zoom. Let's see, can you guys see out there? We have some egrets. Looks like all great egrets or common egret. Same bird. They might be looking at me a little bit. We're going to head out there and see if we can get a little bit of a closer look at them. And we'll talk about plants and, whatever we find as we go. So let's see what we've got out here. Now there are some very small fish swimming around. You might see them just as a blur going by. Really hard to tell. They're probably killifish. Yeah, I'm seeing the shape. They're little tiny killifish. They are less than an inch long. So this is where the baby killifish hide out. This is a great place. And again, going back to the functions of the salt marsh, one of the functions is to act as a nursery for fish. Normally you would not see these rocks. Unfortunately, people throw rocks into the marsh. I don't know why. I was going to take a guess, but let's just say I don't know why they do that. Rocks are not naturally part of this environment, and we don't really like to see that. All right, now we've got high tide today, which means it's going to be harder to find the fiddler crabs, which I was hoping we might find, or maybe a mud crab. But we will see other things. Now those egrets, let's go back up and look at the egrets. They're not going anywhere. They're also not moving around and feeding. So they've picked that area just to hang out for a time today. And there is a gull out there as well. So if you look over on that log right there, let's see if I can zoom this in. My hands are kind of muddy now, so I don't want to get it all over the phone. All right, there we go. On that log, we've got a herring gull sitting there. There's also one on the osprey platform, the old osprey platform. So let's zoom back. This telephone pole was put in for an osprey platform. It was not a telephone pole. And the gull on top is a just coming into maturity herring gull. It's got a little bit of blotching on it. It's not pure white yet. So this is probably a 4-year-old herring gull. And then below that box there, that's a bat box, which we don't have any bats left using it yet. So here we've got our smooth cordgrass. I would say the most common plant in the salt marsh. Well, definitely the cordgrasses. There are 2 different ones, but the smooth cordgrass, most common plant that we encounter out here. And it also, if we pan around a little here, you're going to see that bright red over there, the really deep, beautiful red. That is the pickle grass or the glasswort. It's a succulent. And I will find some that we can eat, or I will eat. You can virtually eat it. Pretend that you're eating it. It tastes very salty. It is... doesn't taste a whole lot like a pickle, except I guess pickles are a bit salty, but oh, I'm seeing movement down here. Gonna see what we can find. Again, the tide is up. Oh, it was a fish. It's moving out ahead of me here. Yep, there's lots of fish swimming around in here. So this is a great example of the fish using the marsh as a nursery. These small fish, they've got fantastic cover here. It was going to be pretty difficult for a bird to find them in all of the grasses here. And it's also going to be tough for, or almost impossible for, a large fish to come along and try and eat them. All right, let's go right. Here's the other cord grass. This is the salt meadow cord grass. It's thinner. Always looks like a cowlick on people's hair. And we've got some, actually maybe this is a good place to see if we can find some snails. So there are snails that are out here in the marsh. There we go. So let's pan it around there. That little tiny snail, that's a coffee bean snail. They are about the same shape and size as a coffee bean. That's how they get their name. And lots of things do like to eat them. The birds will stalk around. Crabs will eat them if they can get them, but they move up the stalks as the tide comes in. So a crab has a harder time getting them. And these are all over the place. There are millions of them in the salt marsh. Now we've got some sea lavender here. If anyone has gotten roses lately and the beautiful white little tiny dried flowers called baby's breath, this is in the same family as baby's breath. There's the leaves down there, the broad leaf there, that's from the sea lavender. The rest is the cord grass. This is all smooth cord grass. I'm looking for some green glasswort. We've got some glasswort here that's pretty much gone by. There we go. Here's one over here that's got a little bit of green to it. That's the part I'm gonna taste. So that's the glasswort. You can see it's a thick stem. It holds the salt water. So the salt is absorbed up into it. It is pretty salty. When it gets red, it doesn't taste as good, and that one's started getting red already. And the egrets, let's go back to the egrets because they're still there. Just chilling out. All right, let's poke around and see if we can find one of our mud crabs or fiddler crabs. Oh, look, a marsh aster. There we go. You see that one there? These are actually pretty hard to find. I did not expect to find one today. I love the asters. They are a fall blooming flower. You can see the marsh aster. It's not very common. That's the only one that I see out here right now. Got more. My pickle grass isn't going down very well. More cord grass out here. Now the difference between a high marsh and a low marsh, this would probably be considered low marsh just because the tide reaches up here every day. A high marsh, a normal tide is not going to reach out into the marsh itself. And actually, where I'm standing now, there's no water. We're at high tide right now, no water on it. So this would be high marsh. Back over there, the water was under the grasses, which would be low marsh. So there's a really fine line between high marsh and low marsh. But typically, if you think of it this way, high marshes only get the extreme tides, and the low marsh gets the everyday tides, the average tides. We'll cover them. We've got a little bit of mud here. Now there are lots of spiders that live out in the marsh. There's another animal we can talk about. Lots of spiders. And there's our fiddler crab. Just went in that hole right there. So I'll see if he'll come out. That's not what I was going to talk about. I just saw the hole, but there's another animal next to it. So you can see the tide is moving. The water is moving here. It should be going out right now. I think we're really close to high tide, max high tide. But if you look over, camera won't pan over there. Will it pan? Let's move back like this. If anyone has any questions, you can ask them at any time. I think if I move, oh, another crab just cruised by that hole. So that was a male hiding out in the hole. Whatever just went by, I think it was a mud crab, but it could have been a fiddler. So if we look up here, we have another one of our common animals from the marsh, and it is our ribbed mussel. You can see it's open and filtering. Ribbed mussels can survive out here. A little tiny katydid, just, oh, look, there it goes, up the stalk of that. I was mentioning insects. There are lots of insects in the marsh. We get spiders out here hunting for those insects that live out here or that visit out here. If I look around here, the snails are everywhere. I am seeing spiders. I am seeing other insects hopping and crawling around. So they do hang out here in the marsh. But back to the ribbed mussel. It is a filter feeder, and I think my moving around has gotten it to close up a little bit. A blue mussels are the type that we eat. You can find them all along the shore at the restaurants. The ribbed mussel you're not going to see. I have heard that if you soak them in fresh water and then drain the fresh water and soak them again, and you have to do that 5 to 7 times, you can remove all of the nasty stuff that they have filtered out, and that's what they're eating, and then you can eat them. The blue mussels, they're eating cleaner water out in the open sound, so you can eat them right out of the sound. So this is the ribbed mussel right here. You can see the ridges on it. That's how it gets its name. Ribbed mussel is buried completely down into the mud. I'm going to leave it there. I don't want to take it out of that spot. This is the hole that has the fiddler crab. And I just feel him right there. So he's that far down into the mud. And then we're going to leave him down there. And that is a male because he has the large claw. The female would have 2 small claws. We're going to move over here, see what I've got. I see here is a claw from the fiddler crab. Now, they can battle and take each other's claws off. This is the whole arm here. They can regrow that claw. Now, if a fiddler crab loses its large claw, on its next molt, the small claw grows into the large claw, and the new claw that regenerates will be a small claw. So right and left-handed, they are not necessarily going to stay with a big claw on the right side or the left side if that's how they began. Now that crab that I disturbed is out now, and he went right back in as soon as I got the camera on him. So yes, they will lose this. Can lose these sometimes in battles. The female, again, 2 small claws. Females are actually kind of hard to tell when they're scurrying around anyway from the mud crabs, which we do get mud crabs out here. Now this is really spectacular. The tide is going out, and as I'm watching, that ribbed mussel is becoming exposed. When I first got here, that ribbed mussel was completely underwater. And now you can see the salt marsh is draining away. And I see there's another ribbed mussel. So this is actually how the ribbed mussels are going to be found. There's another one right here. Okay, and what was that? There's a little something scurrying past me. And it's a little crab. A little tiny fiddler crab. That's a male because he's got his big claw. So these guys are scurrying around the marsh. That is so cool. We're going to let him continue on his way. And our big one is still staying in the... So they can get that shed claw that I found is a good size for the marsh crab. So here again, we've got the smooth cordgrass all in here. And this is about as far as I'm going in this direction because I have encountered a mosquito ditch. The cordgrasses grow taller on the mosquito ditches, and I'm going to show you what I mean by panning over here. There's the mosquito ditch. The mud is softer in the mosquito ditches. Now the ditches were dug back, going back into the late 40s, into the 50s. I think we found actually here at Hammonasset, they may have started in the 30s, which was when I believe the theory first started about digging mosquito ditches. And that is to drain the marsh. Oh, there's a thing right at my foot here. What is this? Oh, look at that. That is a ribbed mussel. It was right at my feet. And it looks like it's got a strange thing, an indentation there in its shell. So it was growing around something. Let's stick that right back in the mud. That's how big they get. Oh, there's a whole cluster of them. That's what it is. All right. So the mosquito ditches, again, they started digging them back in the 30s, I believe, was what we determined. Now so the tide's going out, and all these little creatures are squirming all over the place. So these guys have a very big, threatening claw. It doesn't produce that much force for the size of the claw if you get it in there so it doesn't pinch you too bad. I do not recommend anyone doing this. So both claws have pinched me now. That's a good way to hold on to him, because he's not going to pinch me now because he's already got me. But that's a good size fiddler crab. They can get larger than that, but that's a good size one right there. I got to zoom this. Let's switch. Put him back. And I'm going to zoom. I think the camera is zoomed. There we go. All right, so if you look down, oh look, there he goes. He's cruising along. So the water is draining away, and we're seeing exposed mud and lots of holes from our friendly crabs all around here. All those little holes. So the mosquito ditches were dug in order to control mosquitoes. Mosquitoes lay their eggs in water that doesn't move. If the water moves, then the baby mosquitoes, either they're just going to get washed out, or they can't stay attached to the surface, and they don't get any oxygen. Or they can't just, they hang upside down from the surface of the water, and they'll sink down, and they won't survive that. So here we've got our mosquito ditch. Now it opens up really wide here, so I'm thinking that they may have actually dug this mosquito ditch along a natural channel. It's pretty straight, but it gets really wide. Natural channels are usually wider and more meandering. Mosquito ditches are straight and narrow. All right, there are our egrets. This is the closest I'm going to be able to get to them, but I'll zoom in here and see where we're at. Wait, let's go back. There they are. Probably not in focus because I'm zoomed in so much. Let's zoom out a little bit. Again, these are great egrets. Really cool. She is asking for a picture. I'm not sure what she wants a picture of. Probably that aster. All right. Did I miss any questions? Aren't you afraid of stepping on something? I am always nervous about stepping on things. Around my home, I've got these toads that come out. And when I go out at night to walk the dog, I'm always afraid I'm going to step on a toad. Yes, I am always concerned that I'm going to step on spiders or other insects. But it's something that you just, in order to move around, you got to be cautious about it. But there you can see a coffee bean snail. My gimbal doesn't like that angle. Let's do this. There we go. Try and show you coffee bean snail in its natural state. They climb up the grasses like so during high tide. Then during low tide, they will climb down. They eat the plant matter, so they're going to climb back down and eat the plants that have died from last year. So, and you can see that one's been out of the water for a while because it's much lighter. It's not that coffee bean color. All right. Take a minute here and before we go look at another mosquito ditch and see if I missed any questions. Someone found the little blue heron out here. And ditches man-made or natural? The ditches are man-made. Again, they were dug. Here, Gia, there's more aster. The ditches, where are they? Am I zoomed out again? There we go. The ditches were dug so that the water would drain off, the mosquito larvae would wash out, not be able to survive, fish would be able to get in and eat them. So that's why they were dug. And the reason they stopped digging them, there's limited effect that they have. They're not 100% effective, but they're only controlling saltwater mosquitoes for one, which we only have a few species of saltwater mosquitoes in Connecticut. But the reason they stopped was they found something much easier to control mosquitoes, and that was DDT. And unfortunately, DDT wiped out all kinds of fish and birds. It was devastating to our wild populations across Connecticut, in all of the country. They would have massive fish kills. DDT killed fish. Oh, darn it. He just ran away really fast. I just saw a wolf spider, but he was cruising out of there. Ooh, there's some nice little bit of sea lavender that's not completely gone by. So you can see what it looks like. It's a beautiful flower. I love the asters, but I'll have to say I think sea lavender is my favorite marsh plant. So here we see the tide is going out very slowly. This is a mosquito ditch. It's perfectly straight. This is one of the wider mosquito ditches that we have here in the park. But over the years, they stopped digging these in the 50s. They may have redug some of them in the 60s, but for the most part, they stopped digging them in the 50s. And they began to fill in, but the mud that's filling in the mosquito ditches is softer than the other mud. So as you're walking across the marsh, you may sink if you try and cross one of these. We have had school children get stuck in the mud. They sink down about to their waists. We've actually had DEP staff, hello Al, that sunk in the mud out here as well. I hope he's laughing about it now. He wasn't laughing when it happened. But yeah, he sunk down in the mud too. I think he didn't get in a ditch though. There are little sinkholes around. I think he just stepped in a sinkhole and sank up to his thigh in the mud. We're going to be doing, hopefully soon, a Facebook Live interview with Al. Al Levere is our resident, I don't think it's his official title, but he's the DEP historian. He's got all sorts of wonderful stories about the history of the park system. And I'm going to be doing a program with him coming up. So again, you can see the past programs on, I just crossed a really soft area there. Past programs on YouTube, Meigs Point Nature Center YouTube channel. There's more aster. So I am finding it all over the place. We don't do a whole lot of programs in the fall, which is why this is probably the most aster I've ever found out in the marsh. So please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Meigs Point Nature Center on YouTube, and go to our website, meigspointnaturecenter.org, visit the Virtual Learning Center. And please continue to remind or tell your friends, neighbors, anyone you know about these programs. Ask them to follow us or like us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Okay, found another little hole here. Camera, there we go. I'm using a gimbal and it doesn't always want to point where I think it I think it corrects itself. There's a little hole right there. That is another fiddler crab hole. And the hole is the thing that attracts a female fiddler crab. They've at least determined it with one species of fiddler crab. I think they're working on it with others. It's not necessarily a claw. There's the shell, or part of a shell, of the ribbed mussel. Those are out here. There's some more sea lavender. All right, let's let's do a pan here of our salt marsh. And if anyone has any questions, I'll take time to answer them. Is the mud different than quicksand? Yes. Quicksand, I believe, happens, and I'm blanking on the word. There's a term for it when the hydration of soil gets so much that it becomes soft and sticky, and that can happen to even harder surfaces and soils. Out here, the mud, the peat, is made up of plant material. It's always soft. It just becomes more dense as the roots of the live plants hold it together and create a nice mat over the top of it. So it is different than quicksand. All right, now that I've been quiet, hopefully you can still hear me. I can hear, as the water goes down in the mosquito ditch and all around me, the water is draining out, the little pops of the air, the gases escaping. It sounds like also I'm hearing the crabs coming out of their holes. It's really cool. I need like a super microphone so you guys can hear all the things that are going on around here. All right, let's do some more questions. Will I be doing this at 2 this afternoon? No, right now we're only doing the programs at 11. I am, though, if you have a school group, today at 12:45, I'm doing a special Zoom program for a school. And you can set those up if you have a Zoom. We don't have a Zoom account, but if your school has a Zoom account, I can do specially scheduled programs through that account. There's a lot of water moving around here. So I'm going to come over here and show you. Oh, that fiddler crab just went cruising. All right. You can see out here in the marsh grasses. Again, this is this is also called salt meadow hay, the salt meadow cordgrass. It's laying down. There's also another one that looks a lot like it. Blanking on the name right now. It'll come to me, or Gio will put it up. But you can see the water is all in the grasses. It's draining off, and you can almost watch it flowing out of the marsh into the mosquito ditch, and then draining away out into Long Island Sound. So again, if you go to the functions of the salt marsh video, you'll see what this really means to us. This is a massive filter at work right now, and that's what we're watching happen, is a massive filter. I'm going to put the microphone down by the mud and see if you guys can hear all these noises. You'll have to let me know if you heard that. How far inland am I? Not far at all. Right on the other side of that beach that we're looking at right here is Clinton Harbor. And probably about a quarter of a mile in that direction would be Long Island Sound. Any mammals live in or around the marsh? Great question. The answer is yes. We do get muskrats that will be in the marsh, but mostly the animals live around the marsh and they come out into the marsh for food, and that's voles, mice, weasels, and mink will come out after the voles and mice. Raccoons, skunks, possums, even a fisher will come out into the marsh at night to scavenge. We get deer passing through the marsh. You don't see them a lot during the day because, again, it's exposed. And coyotes. Haven't seen a bear out here yet, but that's one thing I would expect to see. Bears are very adaptable, and I can easily see them realizing that there's a food source out here on the beach and beginning to make this a regular place to visit. All right. So I'm guessing you guys couldn't hear all the noises that were coming out of the marsh. I think that's what my mom said no to. Let's keep going over here. So the crabs and the snails are the two main things that we find out here. As I'm walking through, there are crabs running between all the grasses here. And I'm actually going to move over. Wow, there's a strange sight. Look at all those coffee bean snails. You see that? There are coffee bean snails here, coffee bean snails here, coffee bean snails. They love it. Not sure why they picked this particular cordgrass to climb up. And it looks like they're on dead cordgrass, not even live cordgrass. Lucy would like to know, when the muskrats and other mammals come out, do they like to eat the grass? So some of the animals do eat the grass. The deer do graze on the grass. But mostly the animals that are coming out here are eating the insects and the snails and each other. So the mice come out here to eat the seeds of the grass. The muskrats eat the grass. The deer eat the grass. But most of the other things are eating, they're more omnivores or carnivores. So great question, Lucy. Thank you. And let's see, we've got another comment. We did watch a herd of deer in the marsh. Got a great picture. Also a coyote last year. So yes, we do get those. Again, the raccoons, the deer sometimes are hard to see, but they're out here usually early morning. Somebody says they could hear a faint clicking, and that was the noise I was trying to get you to hear. Didn't really sound natural. It was very almost electronic clicking noise coming from the mud. I'm wondering if the crabs are able to make some sort of clicking noise. All right, we're coming back into this salt pan right here. Now this salt pan is not a natural salt pan. This was made by school groups coming out into the marsh. There are 4 sections of marsh here, divided by mosquito ditches that have been designated as educational marsh. We knew that it would be damaged by people going out into it, but it's a great opportunity for children to visit a marsh. They get to see the sponge-like effect. One of the programs I do, the school children get to write about what a marsh is like. So they have to describe what they're seeing, what they feel, what they smell, stick their fingers down in the marsh and describe it. All things that part of our fully immersive experience doing programs here at Hammonasset. All right, when I get out of here, we'll stop and see if we've got any more questions. There's a nice little patch of glasswort right there. Pickle grass, that's the really red stuff. I will taste some red stuff and tell you how different it is from the regular. Well, it is a lot more salty. Let's just say that. All right, let's take a look. Do we have any questions? Does sea lavender smell like lavender? It's such a small flower, I really can't smell it. I don't get a smell at all from the sea lavender. What eats the swamp grass or the marsh grasses are eaten again. The crabs will eat them, some of the stems. The deer will come out. Mice and voles are the biggest ones. They're eating mostly the seeds. Some of the birds that come in here are eating the seeds of the grasses as well. Do we have any more questions? Let's see. All right, I'm not seeing any questions. If I missed a question, please forgive me. All right, let's I'm going to turn the camera back around so you guys can see the beautiful, that's Long Island Sound right over there. Actually, it's Long Island Sound. It's where Clinton Harbor goes out into Long Island Sound, right behind me. So again, this is Ranger Russ from Meigs Point, from the salt marsh at Meigs Point. I will be doing these programs every Tuesday through Friday at 11 o'clock. I hope that you can tune in. We have special programs coming up. A very, very special program Saturday morning at 10 o'clock. We're going to have a bald eagle. a live program with a bald eagle. We're going to be talking about its significance in Connecticut and its significance to the Native American communities. So please tune in. That's going to be on Meigs Point Nature Center Facebook Live program. We're going to see if we can get it on YouTube Live as well, so that you'll get the portrait and landscape view. So Facebook is going to be portrait, YouTube can be landscape, and I want to show both views. So please continue to tune in and watch these programs. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. And until next time, this is Ranger Russ signing off from the Meigs Point Nature Center, Salt Marsh.